At the end of the day, I can't care. I have to say what I think is funny.
Unfortunately, I think social media has kind of changed people's perception on that. I think everybody thinks people care what they think now.
But since social media came along, it nullified all those individuals, those highfalutin individuals.
I've watched so many of my friends who only wanted to do stand-up, who now have to figure out what their online voice is. And it's taken so much attention away from their stand-up that their stand-up suffers.
When I make my presentations, I have to be very careful not to point this iPhone 12 Max Pro at anybody's face.
Do you have a type of reaction you're looking for, or you just don't care? Because I feel like...
It's for the people who get it. If they have to understand where I'm coming from. If they don't get me and it's very difficult. But at the end of the day, I can't care. I have to say what I think is funny. And everybody else who doesn't think it's funny or doesn't get it or think it's terrible, that's their business. That's on them. They have to figure out why they're so terribly upset with this planet and
this beautiful
blue planet that we live on, and everything is so terribly offensive and confusing and hurtful to them. Then they should just kill themselves. You know, you don't deserve to be here. You know, you're uncomfortable. Everything I talk about comes off the beautiful blue planet. And I'm just terribly sorry that everything is so upsetting to you. Like they're the boss of everything. Like they're in charge of everything. You know, no one gives a hoot what you think.
Unfortunately, I think social media has kind of changed people's perception on that. I think everybody thinks people care what they think now.
I guess. I mean,
like everybody has a voice now, whereas opposed to like when I started 13 years ago in comedy, and I didn't have to be a social media guru to be a comedian, but now the landscape is completely flipped, and you have to have a social media presence. You pretty much, for me, I feel like I have to do everything I don't want to do. I love comedy, and I just want to focus on comedy, making people laugh on stage.
Well, the phone and social media is part of that.
Yes, it is. You're right. I feel like there's almost a subtle, like you don't technically have to do any of this stuff, right? But how do you build an audience in this day and age if you're not a part of that social media, constantly putting stuff out?
Well, traditionally you got an agent or a manager, and they put you out, you sign with them, they tell you how to dress, tell you what to do, and promote you. But since social media came along, it nullified all those individuals, those highfalutin individuals, agents and managers and what have you, entertainment lawyers, and it nullified them to the point where they're less or not as important or unimportant to an aspiring artist his aspirations in show business. So it's kind of good. You know, you do it on your own, you get a following, and you take it from there.
I agree I see, like, it's hard to disagree with what you're saying, because I 100% agree with that, and I can't say that that's wrong. From my personal experience, though, it's like I've watched so many of my friends who only wanted to do stand-up, who now have to figure out what their online voice is. And it's taken so much attention away from their stand-up that their stand-up suffers, but now they're building an audience based off of something that they didn't care to present in the first place. And that's been the challenge for me, because I think you're right, it is a tool, but I feel maybe there's a pressure now in comedy to where we all have to be complete buffoons, or not, maybe not buffoons, because there's a place for that in comedy. Like, you know, there's dick and fart jokes is absolutely a requirement or has its place. But I personally feel like now, like I gotta go to a Walmart and follow a family on a Tuesday and yell behind.
Oh yeah, we're not talking about that. That's when I make my presentations, I have to be very careful not to point this iPhone 12 Max Pro at anybody's face. Because of those people that are punking people and getting in people's personal space and scaring people and just doing horrible things to people when they're just going about their everyday life. And they're the people that are ruining it for real YouTubers who are just trying to show people something that maybe they live in Switzerland that'll never see Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So the buffoonery and the trickery and the punking have diminished the attractiveness of social media or blogging to a great extent. And they're trying to be funny, and you can't try. You can't manufacture somebody to make a laugh. It has to be genuine. It has to be organic. And a lot of people, of course, are missing the mark on that. And so you do it in your own fashion. You don't.
It has to come from a genuine place.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the challenge of it that I love. I feel like it's taken me. I've been on social media since the beginning, but it's only now that I'm really catching traction because I'm presenting myself authentically. I only care about comedy, so then I finally realized, like, why am I trying to play that game as opposed to just present comedy? Like, so now all my interviews with comedians, my podcasts would solely talk about comedy. And it's slowly building traction. I don't know if it'll be as widestream or as mainstream as like something like that can get, like I feel
like Jake Paul or Paul Jake or whatever his name is. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Black Zeus, the podcast season 5.